Medaka Kuroiwa is Impervious to My Charms is an anime airing right now. It's a rom-com, pretty fun, really funny. There's some fan service for people who are into that. It's got a really good premise. And the first season, I think, will be really enjoyable. If it goes beyond that, it kind of turns to trash. The premise of the show is that Mona Kawaii is super attractive, super charming. Everyone loves her. Her entire life, pretty much no one can resist her, boys or girls. Obviously, all the guys confess to her and are in love with her. The girls think she's super cute and really charming. And the new student, Medaka Kuroiwa, I'm sure I'm butchering the name. I always butcher them. Sorry. Is not interested in her at all. He's like, please stop talking to me. He kind of makes this pained face every time she flirts with him. So she gets frustrated, and her goal is to make him fall in love with her because she's frustrated and essentially just taking a hit to her ego. And what you find out in the first episode, because some of the other boys are like, why are you so mean to Mona, is that he's a monk.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And part of this is for his training, because he's from out of town, to learn how to be around girls, but not give in to his earthly desires, that whole sort of thing. He's the heir to the temple, so he needs to take it over, and it's some kind of cat-inspired god that they worship at his temple. So a really good premise for a rom-com. You've got the girl who's frustrated because she's taken a hit to her ego, the guy who has to say no out of religious obligation. Very simple, very straightforward. You've probably seen similar premises if you're into chick flicks. A movie like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, where Matthew McConaughey has to get a girl to fall in love with him in 10 days and propose to her. And the main woman in that movie, who I cannot remember right now, has to get the guy to dump him. So she's being a nuisance, and he has to make her fall in love with him and get engaged. Similar idea. Kaguya-sama Love is War, same kind of deal. The first one to confess loses, even though they both like each other. So they're trying to bend the other one to their will. The first episode is pretty funny because she's being pretty outrageous to try to get him to just admit that he likes her and is attracted to her. You can see here on the screen, she like rips her fucking shirt open.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
And is like, how can he not fall for this? And she often thinks in her head, like, you know, I'm a 10. What the hell is wrong with this guy? So she's super egotistic, which is really funny. And just how frustrated she gets and how over the top she is, I think is really amusing. And I think it works really well. And it's what's going to make the first season really enjoyable overall. And because I enjoyed the first couple episodes so much, I went ahead and started the manga. Got through about 80 chapters out of the current 180-ish, maybe like 185. This will be spoilers, so there's your warning. After this first season, which I'm assuming is going to cover 40 to 50 chapters because they're pretty short, they're like 13-page chapters. I would say the first 60 to 80 chapters are really good. Mona is hilarious. Medaka, you're kind of slowly learning about as the story goes on. Unfortunately, for the manga, as it goes on, another girl gets introduced, so there's a little love triangle thing. I didn't mind that part, but my guess, and I don't know exactly the reason, is that as the manga got more successful, the author felt the need to drag the story out. So for the first 50 to 60 chapters, things are progressing really nicely. You get a little bit of drama with the love triangle. And unfortunately, after that, we get introduced to more characters. It kind of devolves into harem nonsense. And harems can work, but I think it takes a really specific type of story, and it really has to be earned for me to enjoy it usually. I don't enjoy the style of like Ara Ferretta, where just every girl that he meets is into him. He kind of just collects them like trophies. They feel like props. I'm much more okay with it in something like Mushoku Tensei, where separate relationships have been developed throughout the story. So then when the harem develops, the relationships are already there. It's not just kind of tacked on as a weird self-insert thing. At the end of the day, when you start to drag the story out, it just becomes tedious. And I think that's one of the tough things with rom-coms is you have to find the balance of developing the relationship and there being tension and kind of dragging it out, because once they get together, you lose a lot of the drama, with the fact that you don't want the story to feel like you're undermining the character work, to kind of reset character development, to have bullshit happen so that they don't get together. And I'll be honest, when I got to about chapter 75 and things just weren't progressing anymore and more girls kept getting added, I just jumped ahead like 100 chapters to see what was going on. and a new girl was being added to the harem in the chapter that I clicked. And that was like chapter 175 or 180, close to where it's caught up to now. So it's like, why would I read another 100 chapters for literally nothing to change? And essentially the author is just kind of stagnating the story because it's successful and it's selling.
Oh, I like money.
One of the most egregious examples of this would obviously be Rent a Girlfriend. I believe it's on chapter 370 or something. And I'm pretty sure they're still not together. I haven't read it in like 80 chapters. That's kind of the issue that this story is running into. After season 1, if they did an anime only ending where season 1 they just get together and that's how it ends, it could be a really solid 1 season show. But instead, it's going with the harem route. Medaka, as far as I can tell, doesn't really get any substantial development. He's kind of a one-note character that inexplicably has all these girls liking him just because he's nice. And that's really when you start to get into the aspect of it doesn't feel believable. It feels like a self-insert. It makes the story feel shallow and kind of like bullshit. And even though his name is in the title, Mona is the main character. So it's not even really dramatic because you all know where it's going to go. It's just kind of padding the story out for the sake of doing it. So I mainly just wanted to talk about this show to give a heads up. If you're anime only, you're not going to read the manga, enjoy. I think it'll be a really good 1 season and just a really fun show. I think Mona's really funny. Super simple, but really well executed premise. But if you're hoping for the next Dangers in My Heart, or Kaguya-sama Love is War, or insert your favorite rom-com here, Dress Up Darling, whatever, this ain't it. At least not anytime in the foreseeable future as far as I can tell. So there's your warning. There's your recommendation if you're okay with being anime only. I'll leave it there for this one. If you've seen the show or read the manga, let me know what you think. I try to respond to the comments that aren't just insults. Like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks. See ya.